welcome back. This is Wayne Madsen with the Wayne Madsen Report, coming in live this November 6th from Washington, D.C. And tonight we're talking about, in particular, this documentary called Inside Job. Again, I highly recommend it. It does explain the alchemy by the banksters and how they pulled off this conspiracy. It was a huge criminal conspiracy, and Eric Holder has not prosecuted one of these bankers, one of these individuals, none of the regulators, none of the rating agencies. They all conspired in this. AIG, the insurer, on these credit default swaps, which is basically these corporations like Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch were using credit default swaps to bet against their own assets, their own collateralized debt obligations, where they packaged subprime mortgages that they knew were going to fail. And that's why we have now American citizens living in tent cities around the United States. Cities like Las Vegas, you've got neighborhoods where every home is vacant. Other states similarly affected, Florida, and a few others. This was a criminal conspiracy. And why doesn't the corporate media why do they use that term conspiracy as sort of a pejorative? Because they know that they were part of it. The Wall Street Journal, all the financial media were all part of this, except for a few. And I want to play this one clip. This is Dylan Ratigan on MSNBC, basically plugging this movie, this documentary, Inside Job. And you'll hear his commentary, and you'll hear the producer of the movie and a member of academia from the financial world, from the business school world, speaking about this. And we can play this clip.
Well, happy days here again if you work on Wall Street, though down slightly today as we speak. Stocks closing out their best September in 70 years. That's right, 70 years. The Dow up more than 8% for the month, nearly 11% for the quarter. The Fed's decision at the beginning of the month to restart the printing presses, of course, helping to launch this rally, because, heck, if you can print trillions of dollars, why wouldn't it go up? Last time September was this sweet. In fact, Americans saw Dorothy click her heels for the first time.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home.
You should always be concerned when my stock market comparisons go back to the 1930s, because you get it in the button. Well, it would be nice, of course, if we had a pair of ruby slippers to take us to an America that functioned on actual, dare I say it, capitalism, as opposed to banks controlling government so that they can gamble with your money, keep the bonuses for themselves, and call it capitalism. From Wall Street's canyons to the Capitol, there's plenty of reason for them to celebrate. After all, the banksters have pulled off the biggest theft and cover-up in the history of the world, led by bankster-in-chief Chris Dodd, who patted himself on the back today for a job well done.
Put an end to too big to fail bailouts, and to an era in which executives on Wall Street felt free to gamble with other people's money.
I seriously wonder if they drink. I don't know. I don't understand how you can have four banks control 60% of all the assets, not reform Fannie and Freddie, leave the leverage intact, leave the ratings agencies still working for the banks, and say things like that and not have the entire. I guess they figure American people are so stupid that you can just lie boldly to them as long as you have the appearance of being a senator. Mr. Dodd, of course, having made the gambling parlor even larger than ever at this point, a government that's content to keep printing more money to cover it up. Only 10% of all investment is done by retail investors. Huge percentage, 50, 60, 70% a day. Computers trading funny money for the banksters and to everybody else's detriment. Instead of capital actually being invested in this country, the capital, like I said, trades back and forth, I should say, between banksters who spend their days pressing buttons on a computer, trying to invent things that they can then bet will eventually decline. You get the point. Chris Dodd thinks we're a bunch of morons. I can't really explain it. Now, we normally don't like to plug movies on this show, but the one we're about to show you is an exception. I believe this is the most in-depth look yet at how the banksters, both the politicians like Chris Dodd and Judd Gregg and all the rest of them, and the bank executives from AIG to Goldman Sachs, brought this nation to the brink, perpetrated this theft, and haven't been able to cover it up with government policies that allow them to continue to take our money.
Watching this tsunami coming,
they were having massive private gains at public loss. A financial engineer built dreams, but when those dreams turn out to be nightmares, other people pay for it.
Bear Stearns, Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers, they knew what was happening.
What do you think about selling securities which your own people think are crap? Does that bother you as a hypothetical? No, this is real.
Director Charles Ferguson, the man behind the film Inside Job, he joins us now here in New York. Pleasure to meet you. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Were you surprised at just how clear the connections were between the banks, the government, and the amount of money that the executives running those banks were able to take and are still taking out of our country?
I was surprised by a number of things. I was surprised by how naked the greed on Wall Street had become. When I started making this movie, somebody had told me in late 2008 that I was going to discover, as we all know now, that the major investment banks had been creating securities specifically so that they could fail, so that they could profit by betting against them.
You know how much money you make when you basically go out to a pension fund manager? You go to the middle-class pension fund managers, they have all the teachers' money, all the judges' money, all the cops' money, and you tell them, hey, we've got this thing, it's going to be awesome, look at what the yield is. You get them to buy it because you know their pensions are underwater here in New York State and elsewhere because there's a budget shortfall. I mean, how much money do these people make doing this sort of thing when they would sell this and then bet that it would go down like our friends at Goldman Sachs and elsewhere?
They made tens of billions of dollars.
Tens of billions of dollars?
Yes.
Do they still have that money?
Yes, they do.
How did they cover it up?
Well, I don't know that they've covered it up. We know that they did it. One of the most extraordinary things about all this is that we know that there was a great deal of extremely unethical behavior, and it's unbelievably unlikely that there wasn't also criminal fraud, but not a single senior Wall Street executive has been prosecuted.
Did you get any answer as to why that is?
I don't have a good answer. Clearly, once President Obama appointed the team that he appointed, we weren't going to get much in the way of reform. Why he appointed those people, I really don't understand.
I understand. I understand why Obama appointed those people. Obama is a tool of Wall Street. And also, another group that's a tool of Wall Street are all these teabaggers, Tea Partiers who just got elected to Congress because they were funded by the same companies, the same large corporations that funded Obama and his presidential campaign. And people like Rand Paul and his father, Ron Paul, who feel that corporations should be allowed to do what they want. This is their libertarian mantle. They don't believe in government regulation. It's going to be worse with these people, because they're not going to ask any questions. They're going to tie Obama up in some false kind of, oh, we're going to investigate Obama for what? Don't ask, don't tell? The biggest don't ask, don't tell scam was what happened on Wall Street. And this is just, it's a kabuki theater dance where the American people are going to be subjected to this false rivalry between the corporate Democrats and the corporate Republicans, and people like Rand Paul. He says he's against the Federal Reserve. This dope doesn't seem to understand the Federal Reserve is not a government entity. It's made up of the largest banks in the United States. What part of that does he not understand? But the libertarians have always been a joke. All politics to them is it's a parlor game. Dick Armey and Karl Rove funded these individuals through all kinds of PACs and things that arose out of that Citizens United case that Elena Kagan did a lousy job of arguing before the Supreme Court, and now she's on the Supreme Court. This is all a huge conspiracy by the bankers, by the fat cats, and they haven't been made to pay any of that money back. As a matter of fact, Obama authorized all these packages, these salary packages. They're still flying around in their private jets. They're still using hookers in New York. They're still buying cocaine. They still have their yachts. These people don't belong in jail. They belong under the damn jail. And people, of course, people threw out the Democrats and they brought in this new bunch. This new bunch is controlled every bit as much as the corporate Democrats were. The libertarians are also controlled by these same individuals. And if you don't believe it, just look at where the money came from. Look at who funded these Tea Party people. Look who funds Ron Paul and Rand Paul and all these other these corporate contrivances. And then you'll understand that there's no real change coming. It's a change for the worse. Anyway, Renee's been holding on in North Carolina. Renee, are you with us?
Yes. I'm so glad you're promoting Dylan Radigan because he is doing excellent work. He beats the hell out of the bankers, calling them criminals on a daily basis. He rarely misses a day. I mean, he does it every day. He does not give up. Right. And I like him because he's an independent. When they start that partisan blame game stuff, he steps in. He will not put up with it. He clearly says how they're both at fault. And I agree with you. A lot of these people who are so sure they're part of the solution in the Patriot movement, the Tea Party movement, the thing is, one, they want me to donate money and stuff and help them fight for freedom, but they don't mean freedom for money. I've heard them come out and say they don't think women should vote. I mean, I'm supposed to help
Renee, hold that thought. We've got a break, and we'll come right back to your call right after this break. This is Wayne Madsen from Washington.